I'm back. Apologize for missing out on last week's video. But here in Week 6, well, Week 6 highest scoring team and biggest blowout. Trent's Joe Burr, oh yeah, Kool-Aid Man, busted out a wall on Hope 2.0's Holy Trinity, 141.1 to 83.1. Trent was led by a pair of 32-point games from Joe Burrow and Tyreek Hill. He followed that up with 17.7 from A.J. Brown, 13.8 from Cade York, and 12.6 from Tyler Boyd. You grabbed the high score by less than 2 points over Jason, and the fumble recovery by the Chargers after they punted in overtime provided those 2 points and basically stole $20 out of Jason's pocket.
J.G. Wentworth is right. It's my money, and I need it now.
It wasn't a perfect game for you, though, as you could have gotten the 12 points that Brian Robinson Jr. put up on your bench into your lineup. He was your best scoring running back this week, putting up 3 points more than either A.J. Dillon or Eno Benjamin. For Pope 2.0, you got 16.7 from Cooper Kupp, a pair of 14-point games from running backs Miles Sanders and Devin Singletary, and a 10.9-point game from Rondell Moore. You could have improved your score by getting Darnell Mooney into your lineup, but you weren't touching the 141 that Trent scored. In Week 6's closest game, Nick's Tebow Hannes grabbed his second win this season. Apparently my phone is not on mute. Number one mistake about not doing this is make sure your phone is muted so that way you don't fuck this up. In Week 6 closest game, Nick's Tebow Hannes grabbed his second win this season, eking out Pope 1.0's Serenity Now, 96.4 to 93.9, a 2.5-point margin of victory. Nick was led by 22.3 points from Juju Smith-Schuster, 16.8 from Joe Mixon, and 11.8 from Aaron Rodgers. You could have gotten Darrell Henderson into your starting lineup, which would have provided a couple of extra points of cushion, scoring 13.2 versus David Montgomery's 9 points. Pope 1.0 was led by 23.6 from Mark Andrews, 15.5 from Chris Godwin, 12.7 from Geno Smith, 12.7 from CeeDee Lamb, and 11.8 from Hollywood Brown. You had a horrible game from Jeff Wilson Jr., who only got you a half of a point after rushing for 25 yards and then promptly fumbling. Unfortunately for you, he was the only option you had to put in at running back, so you ended up actually having your best possible lineup on the field. That wasn't the only nail-baiter of a game this week. The matchup between Derek's Fuck You Russ Williams and Chris's 2 men in a defense ended up being a margin of 3.2 points, with Chris grabbing the win, 115.7 to 112.5. Chris had more than just 2 men in a defense this week, as New England led the way with 18.5 points, Alvin Kamara 18.4 points, Justin Jefferson with 16.7. Well, that's 2 men in a defense right there. The follow-up behind that was the 5 other players that scored between 10 and 14 points. Allen Robinson finally had a decent game of 17.3 points, just in time for you to have him on your bench and not actually, start him because you have no faith in him, which I totally get. I did happen to notice that you've lost 4 games in a row to start the season and won 2 in a row. All 4 games that you lost, you had Allen Robinson actually starting. The 2 games that you won, Allen Robinson on your bench. He's on a bye this week. Should be interesting to see what happens, if that pattern continues or if it's going to go away.
I like a good mystery.
As for Derek, well, you might be able to tell that he wasn't really thrilled with the performances of Mike Williams and Russell Wilson on Monday Night Football this week. Derek went into Monday Night Football with a 7-point lead, and his Mike Williams versus Chris's Russ Wilson. And then you got to watch that horror of a crap fest of a game played out against in real time and in fantasy. You see, not only did Derek end up losing a 6-pack to Chris on that game, but he also lost the rights to the team name of Chicken Boners. Since Nick and I are the only 2 people who have any idea what the fuck a chicken boner is, chicken boners with a Z, when the 4 of us played golf up at Bishop's Bay earlier this year, we all met for lunch and drinks before we went and played golf. Here's a reenactment of Derek ordering lunch.
I was elected to lead, not to read. Number 3.
Derek didn't read too closely and ordered something called chicken boners off the menu. When it actually showed up, he was somewhat surprised to find spicy chicken sliders instead of, something else. Derek isn't a big fan of the spicy. He doesn't handle ketchup well. So spicy chicken sliders was a bit sketchy of a call. Derek got 25.1 points from Ramondre Stevenson, 19 from Kenneth Walker III, and 17.9 from Kyler Murray. You didn't have the points on the bench available to get the win, so Chicken Boners goes to Chris, and you are left limp.
Whoa, paramedics, come on down!
Elsewhere, Alex's Big Al Sr. knocked off Brandon's blown call 101.2 to 92.3. Alex was led by 24.3 from Austin Eckler, 15.6 from Adam Thielen, 14.2 from Jason Myers, and 13.7 from touchdown Timmy Brady. Also 12.8 from Travis Etienne Jr. You had the lowest scoring bench this week with just a single player putting up points for you. Russell Gage's 4 points was the only non-bye week player you had on the team this week, on the bench anyways, and he would have been a 0.3 of improvement point, and he would have been a 0.3 of an improvement over Tyler. Can you stop shaking your collar back there? Meow. No, you want to come up here? Okay. He would have been. I can't scroll the feed this way. I have to figure out how to do this. We're gonna sit back further here and get my. Actually, we're gonna go other side here. We're gonna put you on the other knee here. There you go. Russell Gage's 4 points was the only non-bye week player that you had this week, and he would have been 0.3 of a point improvement over Tyler Lockett. Kareem Hunt's 1.2 points didn't help the cause much. Hey, come on, you can't be up here. Gotta go. What are you doing? I'm gonna have to record this whole section again. You know that, right? Can you even see you in the camera? I'm sure you can see in the camera. Yeah, you're right there, right? Yeah. All right, cool. For Brandon, you were led by 28.1 points from Deion Jackson, 19.6 from Patrick Mahomes, and 10.8 from Christian Kirk. Zay Jones off your bench would have been an improvement over Curtis Samuel, but the 7-point bump you could have seen would have been enough to get you the win. You can probably lay the blame pretty evenly across the squad for the loss, as you had 4 different players score 4.3 points or less this week. In the big high-stakes battle, Jason's You Suck McBain knocked off Tom's Gotta Waddle After That Deuce, 139.4 to 113.3. At the time, those two teams were sitting in first and third, now currently sitting in second and third. Jason got 35.2 points from Jamar Chase, 26.4 from Josh Allen, and 4 other players who scored between 16.3 and 11.7. George Kittle, Amari Cooper, Devonta Smith, and the Rams defense. Running back was a bit of a weak spot for you this week, as Aaron Jones and Michael Carter scored 7.4 points and 5.7 points. For Tom, your heavy hitters matched up with Jason well. You got 33.8 points from Stephon Diggs, 22.1 from Leonard Fournette, 19.9 from Jalen Waddle, and 16.1 from Lamar Jackson. Those 4, compared to Jason's top 4, matched up almost identically at around 91 points. But where he put up that extra 25 points on you was the rest of the squad. As for you, J.K. Dobbins scored 1.5, Isaiah McKenzie scored 3.9, and Will Dissly scored 2.2. This matchup featured the 2 top scoring wide receivers this week. Sorry. That voice is still not 100%. It's still got a little something in there. Drew's CMC returns knocks off Lee's unsolicited DAC picks 102.8 to 95.1. Drew was led by 22.8 points from Christian McCaffrey, 7.6 from Alan Lazard, and a pair of 16-point games from Kirk Cousins and Deebo Samuel. Also adding in 13.6 was Brandon McManus. Well, you grabbed the win here. You did make a misstep, opting to start Tyler Higbee instead of Mike Gesicki. Gesicki had his best game of the year, in which he caught 2 touchdown passes on 6 catches for 70 yards. His 24.9 points was a vast improvement over Higbee's single catch for 1 yard. Ideally, you would have slotted him in for Johan Dotson, who posted a 0 in your flex, who he missed week 5 previously, and then he ended up missing week 6 as well. It was a risky start thinking that he might be back, but didn't happen. The extra 25 points wouldn't have gotten you the high score, but it could matter later in the season in the total final standings. For Lee, you had the lowest score from a starting quarterback in Carson Wentz, who scored just 4.2 points. You did get 28.3 from Brandon Ayuk, 15.6 from Ezekiel Elliott, 14 from Zach Ertz, and a 13.5 from Ryan Suckup. Besides the shit game from Wentz, who, to be fair, did fuck his thumb up pretty bad, you only got 1.8 points from Garrett Wilson. You had no better really wide receiver options than him this week, as you had both Brandon Cooks and Devontae Adams on bye. Finally, My Car Smells Like the Pits defeated Aaron's Pickin' So Bad It Hurts, 116.6 to 88.3. I got 29.4 points from Michael Pittman Jr., 19.2 from Travis Kelce, 18.5 from Saquon Barkley, and a pair of 16-point games from Jimmy G and Gabe Davis. I had the lowest scoring defense this week, getting just 0.7 of a point from Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. I did not pair real well with the 0.8 of a point that I got from Melvin Gordon, but I got the win anyways and moved into first, which I believe to be completely fraudulent. While I have a roughly equal number of points scored to the teams around me, I have by far the fewest points scored against me this year. The fantasy football gods will surely balance that out at some point.
He will smite you all. God will smite you all.
For Aaron, you got 23.4 from Brees Hall, 19 points from Robert Tonyan in his best game so far this season, a 16.9 from Jalen Hurts, and a couple of double-digit games from Donovan People-Jones and Jacoby Myers. You also had a couple of awful games from skill players, getting a 0 from a healthy Marquez Valdez-Scantling and 0.4 from DJ Dallas. DJ Dallas, I made fun of him 2 weeks ago for no showing in a 0-point game in which there was just zero trace of him, in which he was healthy and he played and it just no trace of him. He did score like 2.5 points last week, and in the last 2 weeks, Yahoo still hasn't even bothered to cover him a wall. There's just nobody wants to talk about that high-powered Geno Smith offense, apparently.
We don't talk about
Geno. This week's notable free agent acquisitions, Kenyon Drake, who Lee came out swinging for. Lee put down a $34 bid to secure his services over the $5 bid from Chris and $4 from Scotty B. Must be thinking that he's going to be the new main guy in Baltimore at this point. Also bid on was Matt Ryan for $4, going to Drew over Chris and Aaron. There was a couple of defenses that went to people on $0 bid tiebreakers, but it's not worth covering. A few things to cover in the wager corner. We already covered Chris and Derek's bet. Besides that, I beat Aaron in both this league and our work league, so I secured 2 6-packs of beer from him, so thank you very much for that. Additionally, here's an updated picture of our worst team in the NFL wager. Aaron has pulled into a commanding lead with only 4 wins, assisted by the fact that Detroit had a bye this week and couldn't lose, even though they usually would figure out a way to do that. That is it for Week 6. Good luck, everybody, and we will see you next week after Week 7.